Hi everyone, TSW here, and this is the Nexus on Heroic walkthrough. Hope you enjoy it. What I will say actually is, in my Utgard Keep video, I said warriors taper off really badly once they hit level 80, and that's true. But in the early stages of Wrath, they are very strong. So look at the damage meter on the right-hand side of the screen if you want to see how strong warriors are initially at level 80, but again they do get much worse as the other tanks get more and more powerful, and a warrior tank essentially just is very stagnant. So I'm pulling with Heroic Throw a pack far in the distance, and we're lossing it all to us. The annoying thing is when particularly healers will just happily have half the pack just attack them at range, like just stand in melee and loss it with me. Anyway, we eventually get them all stacked together, and then with the power of AoE, shockwave, etc., they go down quite nicely. Very good. And again, my gear is half epic, maybe a little bit more. It's worse than it was in the Utgard Keep video because I can see my sword is the heroic 5-man sword. The group is a random pug, whereas Utgard Keep I was playing with friends. We are pulling the boss now. Commander Stormbeard is only for Horde, whereas if you're playing Alliance, you get an Orc version. So it's essentially the same boss. He has 2 clerics which heal him, so interrupt their heal and kill them first. And there also is a fear. The fear which feared the hunter pet, which is why we pulled an extra pack. So get your tremor totem down. Oh, I think does the pet get feared twice? And I end up dying. So fast forward, I'm talking to somebody on Discord and I auto run into the boss. So the hunter pulled 2 packs and I ninja pull the boss. Anyway, so he has a whirlwind as well, as we see there. He has his fear, and he just melee swings for what, like 6k or something? Whirlwinds for like 5k, melee hits me on this server for 3k. Again, this isn't the Wrath Itching beta because I don't have it. This is a current server, but I'm doing the best I can. And it gives you a really good flavour for the dungeons and how they're going to be once classic Wrath of the Lich King launches. So without the ads, it's very simple. Just make sure that you're running away from him when he is doing the whirlwind, and you should be fine. Okay? And this takes us a bit of time to kill because 2 people were dead when we pulled it, and they released Spirit and ran back in whilst we were fighting the boss. And yeah, it's kind of cool though that you get an orc instead of the dwarf on the Alliance side. I think that's really cool. So just waiting for the Paladin to get mana back. Again, it's very important when you're doing the heroics for the first time to be mindful of mana. Like all I said in the Utgard Keep video was basically the dungeon's easy, and just make sure you're like the most difficult thing is just playing at the pace that works for your healer. So we end up pulling this additional pack as well. This is completely fine. Doing a bit of lossing here just to get the archers on me. I do lost the healer a little bit, so I do dip kind of low. Healer was maybe a bit slow to react or didn't expect me to line of sight, but that's okay. And then clean up these mobs. Okay, the next pack is actually not the simplest because it's full of casters, and also the following pack. So this pack and the next pack can be tricky. So they're just, make sure your healer's in range as well. That's the hardest thing as a tank. Just monitor the mana of your healer. I'm confident, so I'm pulling the next pack as well. This is when the tank can die. If all of these mobs get their cast off, you can dip very low and die very easily. So just be careful. I line of sight them as well, which can be useful for AoE. And I'm so confident I'm even straight away pulling the boss. Now this boss has such annoying mechanics. A lot of bosses in Wrath of the Lich King, and you'll notice this, it's so annoying. They have mechanics which are unavoidable and just delay the fight duration, and it's so annoying. So let's just go over the mechanics here. This boss is called Grand Magus Telstra. She's annoying just because it lasts so long. There's nothing really crazy to worry about mechanically. It's a very straightforward fight. Dispel if you get turned into a sheep, and you'll get thrown around in the air, and whilst you're being flung around in the air, just try and get some instant casts off, or spam your melee abilities, and as you're flying around, every once in a while you'll be in melee range, so you can top up your Sunder Armor, or hit your Bloodthirst, or whatever it is that you want. She'll teleport away, summon some adds, and then you're just waiting for her to come back into the room, and then she appears. So she'll do that twice, and it's really annoying because it basically just artificially extends the duration of the fight, which is so annoying in my opinion. You could be in Ice Crown gear and doing, twice or 3 times as much DPS as we do, and you won't be able to kill the boss much quicker because of all the downtime between the phases. And that's a running theme in almost every Wrath of the Lich King 5-man. There's going to be a boss that has random downtime. Okay, so the Binder, is that what the boss is called? This mob? Which one is this one? I can't quite see. The preview is a little bit small to read the mob name. Yeah, it's the Binder. Is the caster mob in these packs. So on the first pack, I charge it first because it's the caster. And the second pack, we're going for the Rift, which is like the portal. And you have a Death Knight, Death Grip, the Binder, or I can Heroic Throw to silence with the Gag Order talent, to silence the Binder and to bring it in. And then everything is stacked and you AoE it very cleanly. So that's a really big thing to do. Otherwise, you AoE everything down, but the caster's still alive. So what's the point? So you want to jump down, just AoE all of these mobs together. Again, the only time I've ever died running this dungeon is if the healer's like far behind, or if the healer doesn't have mana. And again, just charge in, stack them together. You can use Thunderclap and Glyph of Thunderclap to grab the mobs, get them together, and then boom, 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 throw in your shockwave, and then you're happy. And then as the healer, just yell if you're low on mana, and damage, just DPS, just do your thing. This pack's nice and easy because there's another Rift that you want to kill. It spawns adds. It's like a portal, similar to Black Morass in that sense, but you can actually kill the portal. And because these are melee, just charge in and it's easy. And then we get on to the second boss, called Anomalus. Now again, this is a boss which is artificially extended in terms of the fight duration. So you attack the boss as you would anything else, and then it goes into like this immune phase where he shrinks and then summons these chaotic rifts. The boss is immune through this when he's small, so all you can do is attack the rifts. Once enough rifts have been killed, the boss will then grow and be attackable again. So you basically want to attack the boss and cleave off the rifts, or you can choose to attack the rifts and cleave off onto the boss. So now you see we have 2 rifts here. The rifts, as you can see, are summoning little adds. The adds really don't do anything special. They're not particularly dangerous. Again, the most important thing is just making sure your healer has mana. In low gear, mana is king, and you just need to make sure that your healer always has enough. And just use their cooldowns to get mana back or to save their mana. The boss shrinks again, becomes immune. We kill more of the rifts, and then the boss becomes large again and attackable. Just grab everything and AoE them down, focusing on the boss because ultimately that's the guy that you want to have killed. Now, one thing I will mention is just make sure when you're jumping down from this platform that you don't go further left than I was, or else you're going to fall down and die. So just look at the floor to see where you're dropping down into. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to drop off this platform because there is a gap on the far left. Again, another rift and another binder. So I charge onto the rift portal. I heroic throw the binder, which is again the caster, and everything comes into melee range. And that's great because it's all going to be shockwaveable in my AoE frontal cone. And if you're playing a Death Knight, it's a bit easier because Death and Decay is a larger AoE range, but you also have the power yourself to Death Grip it. And if you're a Paladin, you can squeeze everything into your Consecration range. But yeah, it's just nice to bring it all together. So this is a little bit like a gauntlet now on your way to the next boss, where there's a bit of a debuff that can regen some health and mana. Or is it a buff? It's a buff. It's like the acorn icon on my buffs. So that gives you a little bit of HP and mana, as far as I remember. And we have some of the mobs using a tranquility. They're like the half horse, half human people. They do a tranquility, which will heal them and all of their friends. So make sure the tranquility is interrupted. You can skip quite a few of these mobs. Just make sure you're hugging the wall as we're going forward to give you the best chance. Again, the only way I've ever wiped ever in this dungeon is basically because of the healer not having mana. So we see some tranquilities going off. That's a fantastic time for the warrior to shockwave and stun and interrupt everything. It's like there's so many stunnable mobs in heroics. It's insane. Even like the large mobs or the giants, which you would think could very well be immune to stuns. Nope, they're stunnable. It's easy. Okay, so now we're on the second to last boss, Ormorok the Tree Shaper. So what's really easy, just tank him in this circle, and little spikes come out of the ground, and then a few seconds later, they then shoot up. And if you're stood on the little spikes before they shoot up, you're going to be thrown into the air, and that's not a good time. He also has a spell reflect, so make sure you're not nuking massive spells into him. Just do little baby spells or rank 1 spells, and that will destroy his reflect, and then you can continue. And then when he's low HP, there's an enrage. He'll hit harder, although quite frankly he doesn't hit hard to start with, so the enrage isn't particularly special. Now we won't have Dungeon Finder in Classic Wrath, but if you do, the strategy is to teleport out and then teleport in, because you join back at the entrance, and the last boss is very close to the entrance. There'll be another couple of packs you need to clear, essentially, just to make it to loop back to this area, but it's not too difficult, and it doesn't take that much longer. It's like a very little skip you can do if you are doing the Dungeon Finder, if Dungeon Finder becomes a thing. Now, onto the last boss. You need to click these little orbs to unleash the last boss. Kyrie Starsong is the last boss. The most important thing is you want to keep moving, because there's a debuff which will stack, which will increase your damage. There's a Frost Nova that goes out, which stops you from jumping. Jumping is the easiest way for melee to avoid getting the stacking debuff, and it just increases damage dealt. There's a breath. There's a tail whip, so just stand on the side, and that's pretty much it. It's a fairly straightforward fight. The most important mechanic is just making sure that people are moving, or else you're going to get a stacking debuff increasing your frost damage taken, and you'll start to die. And that's pretty much it. That is the Nexus on Heroic mode. If you enjoyed this, thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.